Welcome back to another episode of Talking Ball Steve Speak. We are in the last few days of drafting. I can't believe we're almost here, but this is the last week. This is last Sunday without NFL football. So we're back, and but we're trying to get a lot of drafts in before it's all said and done. As you can see, I'm working on slow drafts. I'm actually under 100 now, pretty sure. So I'm excited about that. It's going well. And I want to get a couple drafts in tonight. So hopefully, we'll probably hit up a couple different tournaments and see what people want to draft. But yeah, Underdog still is a fair bit out there. Let me just complete this Husky 2 pick, my final pick here. I'm at 3573. And then I will get going, giving some people a little bit of time to filter in. No big NFL news today, at least that I saw. I haven't been on Twitter as much, but it looks like there's not much going on today. I think can we go another? Another receiver on this one. Wait, who did I start with? I started Gibbs, Bucky. Yeah, definitely another receiver. I'm going to tack on Josh Reynolds. Just for a little bit more safety. So let me hit up chat, and then we will get into something in a second. Sunday night stream. Steve knows people missed them already. Yeah, appreciate you guys for jumping in. We got Fantasy Dog in here, number 5 like. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. I just pushed the plane on my final 2 slow drafts. Greatest feeling ever. Congrats. Yeah, I still have a fair. I mean, it's much better than it was. So 4 in the clock. I mean, handful full, and then yeah. I mean, it should be under 100 now. Last night, when the clock went to 10 hours, it was at low over 150, and I finished a couple last night, ton throughout the day today. So, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. So I think, first let's talk about where we're at. A couple days to go. Wrong button. NFL. Right now, there are still. Not counting the Mastiff, and I saw they just dropped the latest flock contest. Won't be doing that, but not counting the Mastiff or the satellite. There are 4 main contests still out there. Best Ball Mania is the closest to filling, though obviously the largest. It's 92%, about 92.5%. I think it definitely fills. Probably late Tuesday night, Wednesday. I think tomorrow's a big day. Like, I think you could see like 4% done tomorrow. We've seen some other holidays have really strong. I remember Memorial Day. It was the puppy, but that filled very well. There are a couple of things out on July 4th that was filling at a good rate. So holidays don't seem to deter fill. Now, granted, a lot of people are maxed. But yeah, tomorrow I think will be the key, but I think, by tomorrow morning, it should be, 93.5, 94%. And if you get like 4% tomorrow, then I think it probably feels sometime Tuesday-ish, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Sprint and marathon are definitely behind. Sprint's at 55.6%. Doesn't have near as many people need to enter, but you figure it out, and it's over like 2,000 more drafts need to get done. So that's a lot, especially when people are focused on like BBM. Same with the marathon. That's even more drafts because there's more total people. It's relatively the same fill rate, a little higher, 57.5, but just more total drafts need to get done. It's closer to like 2,700 drafts need to get done. So that's honestly a lot for a contest that just doesn't seem to fill a lot. Then even the puppy, the puppy is a little over 50% as well. Okay, it's about 61%, but that's a long ways to go. Now, that's something I think you'll have more people, just since it's only $5, just throw in a few and even autopilot it. So that I wouldn't. I think that probably fills. But the other ones, the marathon and sprint, I think those are going to be a little tougher. So I think we are looking at some real overlay potential, and particularly because they're going to be focused on the BBM for the next 40 hours. So Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, you'll see a strong push, and I bet both get over 80%. But I do think there's going to be some serious overlay. Let me hit up chat before we get into something. We got Ant in here. What draft are we doing tonight, Steve? Well, I was going to definitely want to do at least one BBM, but I'm open to doing marathons and sprints if people want to try those out. I mean, even a puppy if people want to do that. We got our guy Bernie in here. Hope you're doing well, Bernie. We got Mr. Grapefruit. Hey, Steve and company, who aims sent. Well, appreciate it. Hartman in here, GM, Who Hames, yeah, you ended up streaming a lot longer than I think you thought you were, but it looked like you're ripping DK drafts the whole time. Speaking of DK, that's another one that, probably some overlay. Who Hames was talking about it earlier. I think you're going to have between 50 to 70,000 entries short of filling. Drafters is another one that's that's definitely not going to fill. So yeah, it's going to be interesting with these flagships not filling. There definitely seems to be some value out there. I missed the last team. I just saw that you were still on while I was getting ready for the show. Do a pup. I'm not touching sprint or marathon. All right. My favorite streamer. Appreciate that, Gamblestein. Who Hames had the sickest team. Nice. Well, congrats. We got Megan here. Hey, brother and crew. I already started on the Wildcat. Aiming to do like 25 of them early before ADPs tighten up. I've done one so far. Probably will do one or two more this weekend. And then, yeah. He did DK Millie that had Bijan, AJ Brown. Whoa. That's impressive. We got our guy Tyler in here, Emo Cowboy. If you missed the Typho Tower last night, it was entertaining. I'm guessing Tyler has a headache. Would be my guess. So, yeah, let's get into something. I'll start with the BBM for anyone who wants to jump in. Maybe I will do a puppy. I'll probably do at least 3 drafts. So maybe I'll do like a puppy marathon and BBM. Maybe I'll do 4 drafts. Depends on how the stream's going. So let me start with the BBM though. I'll count it down. Like I said, I've done, was that 61? I want to get to between at least 70, if not 75. No, so I guess I've done more than that. Math is not mathing right now. So get 71. So I guess I'm at 70. Yeah. Okay. It's been a day. So yeah, I'm at 71 now. So this will be 72. All right. Let me count it down. I'm going to enter in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. All right, waiting on 4 people. So anyone else in a recliner and drafting? That sounds nice. I'm pretty sure now. BBM with Steve this late is dangerous. I'm done and clocked in out at 100. Nice. Wheels and go to Storywood. Yeah, no, I mean, ADP values are changed, but at least we can now draft guys that we know are going to play, or at least have an understanding of how much time they're going to miss. I mean, just a couple days ago, the Coker news, that was wild. But it is what it is. So I got the 12th spot. Not my favorite. I don't see anyone else in here. Only, not only 2 other red badges, 2 black badges, so a lot of no badges in this. I mean, that can be good, that can be bad. At one point, we were all badgeless, so, uh, it means something, but not not always as much as people make it out to mean. So this draft is underway. Sorry about that, Hartman. I did, I know the Notre Dame game is going on. Keep me updated. I have not gotten a chance to watch it yet. I'll watch it later. I was getting ready for the stream and catching up on drafts, which, as you saw at the beginning, I'm still a ways to go because Drafters is also down to 2-hour clock. DraftKings tomorrow goes down to an hour clock. That's going to be wild. I still have a lot of those, and I need to do a bunch of those fast still. I have a few more drafters fast I need to do as well. So up in 4 picks. I do like being at the turn. Definitely looking at one of the wide receivers here. Probably a wide receiver, running back. That's typical for what I do. I think, London up, you can kind of just pick your poison, who you're looking for. I'm going to lean BTJ, assuming he's there. And then maybe I just go BTJ Henry. The thing I will say about BTJ compared to like the other receivers, not London, we'll go Henry. The thing about the other receivers in this range, where I like all of them, to an extent, BTJ after Neighbors is probably the next guy that really could, if everything breaks right, be wide receiver 1 in the league. Now, do I think it's a real likely? No, there's about 7 guys who have a shot at that. But we saw what BTJ did as a rookie. Everything, yes, there's more competition there, but that, honestly, I just think the offense will be better. I mean, we saw how good Liam Cohen was. He had to do a lot of his work with Mac Jones. I think Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback. I know some people question him, but I think Trevor Lawrence is definitively a better quarterback than Mac Jones. The offensive line's better. The offense system should be better. Honestly, more competition means less guys being able to double team them. Down the stretch, BTJ was as good as a guy. So, yeah, I just really like his upside potential, especially for a contest like BBM, where, I just think in this offense we saw both Godwin, Evans, even McMillan after Godwin was out, have numerous 20, 30-point games. So, maybe the Jags aren't 100% the same copy-paste of the Bucs, but I think it's closer than some people believe. Yeah, that's why I laughed at the end, Hartman. I thought that might be what you're talking about. Badgeless drafts, they are in that sense of a little less predictable. So I agree with that. But I think there can still be really sharp people, there. And sometimes that predictability, we can't necessarily plan for it, but that predictability could mean the lack of predictability can also work in your favor. Like if there are high on guys that you're not into, like for instance, I mean, he went to Badge, but I'm not paying the Tyreek Hill 26 ADP. Like if Tyreek Hill got back to me at 36, I don't know if I'm taking him, particularly this late in the game. So it can work both ways. All right, what we got here? Coming up, get to make back-to-back picks. I can happily take Jaden. Maybe I'll do the Jaden Terry stack. Haven't done that as much lately. Did a lot earlier in the process. Probably targeting these guys. I mean, if Kyron fell, yeah, go down that road. So Jaden goes. I don't think I'll take Terry if I'm not getting Jaden. Ooh, Hertz goes also. You know, I will not as high on Kyron, but I will take him at a fall. And I'll get some more T-Mac. Much as I like Cook and Worthy and Adams, I want more T-Mac. Obviously, he benefits from the Thielen trade and the Leggett injury. I mean, he's just more and more the alpha. I think Jatavian Sanders benefits quite a bit as well, and even Leggett, I've been taking him more than I ever was. But yeah, T-Mac feels like a good click now where he's going. Like the upside case, I think, is much higher for T-Mac. Not wrong, my guy took 4. Geez. Nice. I'll have to check it out later. Integrity had a badge. ESPN in 4K. Any late guys are changing your priors on, adding to your portfolio? Well, one I just mentioned, Leggett. Like I had 0 of them. Maybe not 0, but pretty damn close. So I think that is a clear one that I've changed. There's definitely guys. I mean, I'll try and talk about some as they come up. Like, honestly, like I was lower on. I wasn't taking much Tesla or Horton when they were going in the 18th round because the path wasn't very clear for those types of guys. Thornton as well. As those situations have become more open, the Thornton now with Amari Cooper maybe isn't as open. I've been taking them more. I was saying with some running backs, like I wasn't really taking a lot of Nick Chubb, definitely no Dameon Pierce, but now I got to take some of them, right? Like Mixon could miss significant time, potentially the year. I'm not going to be overboard on him, but I'm going to take him some, I'm a Washington fan. Chris Rodriguez is a guy who I mentioned on other streams, like the JCM price, I think has just gotten a little too out of control. Not that I won't take him anymore these last few drafts, but it's just really tough to pay a top 100 price for a guy who, not just that he's a 7th round rookie, but even the coaching staff has made it clear, like Chris Rodriguez is probably going to have the most valuable portion of the work, the goal line. And Chris Rodriguez has actually looked good in his limited time, both last year, the last 2 seasons when Brian Robinson missed time. So I have like 5% JCM. I might end up with like 4 or 5% Chris Rodriguez. So those are definitely some. Roman Wilson, Megan, I've talked about, like the Steelers beat reporters. Calvin Austin is banged up. Steelers beat reporters just seem to be talking about how much the coaching staff and Aaron Rodgers is, talking up Roman Wilson. He's a guy who's like free in drafts. He goes in the 18th round. I think the Steelers offense is going to be a lot better this year than people realize. In my opinion, Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 600 times and 28 touchdowns last year for the Jets, who were completely dysfunctional. I understand part of that was, of course, his guy. All right, let me make these picks. I'm going to go Kamara and Adunze. So just keeping it kind of balanced. I like Kamara there. But, people say, oh, it's just Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. I understand the receivers aren't going to be as good for the Steelers, but I think they're still better than people think. With the tight ends that the Steelers have, I think the offense will be pretty decent. Steve, do you play in any home leagues? A couple with friends, and then of course the one that PPR Tyler set up. So only a couple. Quote home league, Steve. Second place to Steve ain't bad. Yeah. No, I mean my biggest one, the Dynasty one, I finished second in like 3 of the last 4 years. I've not won it. So it's frustrating because I can't get over the hump. But it's a fun league. Well, that's why I love Dynasty, because I take these guys and then I just sit on them. Yeah, Leggett is definitely the biggest one. I was essentially totally out on him, and now I have no problem taking him roughly where he's going. We got Eddie in here. Esteban. Hope you're doing well, Eddie. I also began picking Wicks. Taking him once or twice, I probably should. I mean, it does not sound good for Jaden Reed. I totally agree with that. I know Huheems is on the Sabian Williams train. I've done him a couple times in 20-round formats. Wicks too, I do more in 20-round formats. But yeah, I do worry about the Reed injury. And I probably, I've almost 10% craft. I probably should get more craft, more Golden as well. Golden's just tough because I love so many receivers in that range. Yeah, Eddie, I take Eckler over JCM as well. That's the other reason why it's tough for me to get to JCM, because I don't think he can expand in the passing area. Like if Rodriguez takes a good share of the touchdowns, JCM needs to get a lot of targets to balance it out. But I don't know that path's available to him. I get that, Jace, but it feels like a lot of optimism, and he got steamed out. Yeah, exactly. Iron Manor is not one. I mean, I probably have like 4 shares. I can look it up. Maybe have 1 or 2 in slows. So my 0.7% IO Manor. Yeah, so not a lot on IO Manor. And I might have like 1 or 2 more slows, but not. It's just tough for me to get on him. Yeah, no, Drafters had a really good promo going on and through tomorrow. Every 6 drafts you did, you get a ticket. So, and you could do it up to 5 times. So, if you were really grinding away on Drafters, you could get a lot of tickets and really reduce the amount of money that you're spending over there. Yeah, no, me too. Oh, yeah, I don't really complain about my Dynasty League. All right, coming up into, and I might go 1-1 again. I like Caleb and Mason there. I like, 4 running backs early, and probably should go hyper fragile if I'm doing it that way. Boy, I like Caleb Johnson there. We're getting a nice little fall. All right, he goes. I will take Downs. Let me take Downs and Warren. I know I've done that some, but I think the Colts passing offense is a lot more live with Daniel Jones. Not that it'll be elite, but it'll be viable. So I'm 0-3-4-1. And let's go back to the board. And see what we got here. So let's see. Get 7 drafts for $100 on drafters yet. Yeah, no, I mean, that's, I mean, they do some, and if you play in a lot, then you can hit certain milestones also. So there's a lot of good promos. Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of reload codes floating around. So drafters, you can, and you know, if you haven't signed up for drafters, you can use code Fanspeak. You should get a deposit match bonus of up to $100. But yeah, no, it's you know, it's just like the marathon, and it's 20 rounds, full point PPR. Other than that, it's, you know, just building the best team, no playoff format. And with the overlay, it improves all your lineups by every, you know, your odds to cash, your odds to even hit a top score are so much better. You know, the max would be 140,000. If it ends up being like 100,000, obviously one of, you know, say the top 10 teams, even more make good money, but let's say your chance to be a top 10 team is definitely improved. So every team that doesn't fill, you know, every draft that doesn't run on there adds value to all your lineups over there. So highly recommend drafters as well, just for a different style. I mean, I like the you know, maybe we'll do one later, the marathon on Underdog as well. But in drafters, there's going to be some serious overlay. Probably much more so than on UD. So, you know, I was talking about this a little bit in Huheim's chat. You know, he was talking about, who was it? The Sean Tucker, people taking Sean Tucker. And I'm with him. Like, I just can't take Sean Tucker when Rashard White's injury doesn't sound too bad, at least from the sounds of it. And it is interesting. There are a couple teams, though, we are drafting 3 running backs. Washington won, Dallas won, Bears kinda won, Jaguars definitely were taking 3 different running backs. And, you know, only 2 are likely to see any sort of value. So it is interesting that, you know, those kind of situations, we know someone's wrong. You know, for Dallas, maybe Jaden Blue is the right call. I have very little of him. Honestly, very little of all. Most of Miles Sanders. All right, I am up. You know, I'm going to go Justin Fields here. And I think I'll take Caleb. Just double tap it. So this one, I'm definitely not focusing as much on the Week 17 matchups. They're just not falling to me. I mean, I have a little bit like Jacksonville, Indy, but it's just not falling as I want it. But I honestly think that's fine. I mean, we saw it last year. Just good teams can win. And, you know, like Hayden Winks has done research, like the impact of Week 17 stuff is relatively small, very small. And you lose a lot of value when you start reaching to fill it, you know, to get that. So that's why Megan and I always talk about it's a tiebreaker for us. It's not a primary thing. And here, you know, I just wanted to get, I haven't taken as much Fields lately, and Fields Caleb stack, you know, gained 2 quarterbacks there. Felt good. I like where this team's at. 2, 3, 4, 1. My wide receiver room, I think all my rooms are strong to start. All right, let's see. Yeah, no, yeah, it'll probably be about 30,000 in overlay for drafters. Yeah, exactly. We take 3. Well, that's the thing. The Jags, especially, and honestly, and that's kind of the JCM argument also, is at that price, it has to be like a JCM Eckler split. And I feel like Eckler's share is pretty safe. So then it's either Rodriguez is super wrong or JCM's just way too high. This is a BBM Eddie. And Jags are kind of the same. Like ETN and Bigsby can pay off where they're going, but if Tootin's a real thing, then they're both probably wrong as well. So, and then Tootin's made the best value. So I don't take much Tootin. That's just me. I just worry, like, the good news is in best ball, like Tootin doesn't need a lot of touches to maybe get your lineup. It's just I wouldn't count on Tootin to be like a week in, week out guy. He's going to be that guy who has like, gets like five touches most weeks, but that week where he gets like 10 and he busts off like a, 70-yard touchdown run or catch and run, he could just really hit your lineup with, over 100 combined yards, couple catches, and a touchdown. And that's the same, relative argument for Jaden Blue as well. All right, coming up here, receiver, kind of the dead zone of receiver. Probably going to look a running back. Stevenson, probably he's honestly, and I need to get, under 7% now. He's probably going too low. Sounds like it's going to be a split. Stevenson goes. So I will take my guy Eckler. If it will click, there we go. With one pick. And then maybe I go. Don't love much of anything else here, so I'm going to just take Ferguson. That allows me to probably stop at 2 tight ends if need be. Maybe if Mason Taylor's like a value later, I'll take Mason Taylor. Because maybe I'll catch up with 8 receivers, even though I started pretty receiver heavy early. No, he definitely, like if a trade happens, Tootin becomes just massively valued. So I agree with that. I'm just not making that bet, but I get making that bet. Like I'm 2% Tootin. I probably will throw in a couple more lineups, as we wind down here, just because he is at a good price now. But definitely I personally won't be overboard on him. I get, sometimes you got to make that bet, make that call. That's obviously the call I'm making with like Scatterboo. That's a call I've been making since the Judkins stuff with like Dylan Sampson. Like I'm taking a ton of them. I'm up to like 0 before the Judkins news, and I'm like at 10%. Because unless I missed something in the last couple of hours, Judkins has not signed, and we are, a week away. So I'm thinking he misses week 1 and probably week 2, and that could quickly snowball. Because I don't think he was there for basically any training camp, right? And just how NFL game ready would he be? Even if everything cleared up tomorrow, I just think it could be some time before he's truly ready. All right, here we go to the board. Well, I'm sure I am. Any particular one who names you need me to pick in? No, I have a ton of slows going that I'm up on. Ramondre is my honestly, I think I kind of regret not having more because I think Hendo and again, I get why Henderson moved up. The upside is massive, but Ramondre is going to get way more work than I think people are currently giving him credit for. I don't know if I want like 5 more BBMs and 5 more sprint or just go all sprint. I mean, you probably are getting a better ROI by going 5, all sprint. And, if you're budgeting in it, those 5 BBMs are, you can do 6 sprints. So, just from that standpoint as well, just because I do think there'll be some overlay in the sprint as well as a marathon. Honestly, from a total ROI standpoint, though, if you're not as comfortable with the total points, is probably marathon, because every entry that gets to the cash, you double your money. So if you're not like maxing it, and you just end up with a really strong advance rate because, bill rate. So another guy I've really changed my priors on is Demario Douglas. Like, I started out having, him so low, like ranked 200, and I think I take another receiver here? Yeah, I'll go Romeo Dubs. And the thing with Demario is that it's clear like he's going to be the primary slot. I don't think Chisholm takes that over anytime soon. So, I think he's a good pick now. Early on, I was just worried, Diggs could obviously play inside or outside. Kyle Williams could maybe play a little inside. Kayshon Boutte could play inside. But, Douglas was the best slot guy that they had. But also, if like Polk had a second-year breakout, he could have been moved inside to a big slot. So there's just a lot of ways that, and they like Kendrick Bourne and all that stuff. But then it became pretty clear, like, there weren't going to be second-year breakouts from Polk or Baker. Kendrick Bourne wasn't getting healthy. Diggs was going to probably play outside. Kyle Williams was being primarily used outside. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of his role. Emotionally, does it hurt to watch your sister on Friends of Basketball and her always agreeing to another person's pick, not bullying them? I think the thing that hurts the most is, if you saw her last stream with Nez, they had a tech issue, and somehow, miraculously, Nez still got the picks that he wanted. Seems to be when I have a tech issue, that doesn't be the case. But just saying. Mr. Grapefruit, is there a player that stands out to you for week 1 DFS? I need to look more in, like that. There's definitely a lot of games and guys I want to target for sure. But as for a singular player, I honestly think like the running back value could be insane because they're underpriced. Like CMC and Jonathan Taylor, I think just have elite matchups. Could just get a ton of usage. Definitely in the Colts case, wouldn't be surprised if they're ahead, salting away the game. And they're just not priced like elite backs typically are. I mean, everyone's kind of priced under right now. So high end, it'd be them. I think there's a lot of values out there. I generally want to pay down at quarterback, pay down at tight end. I mean, Jatavian Sanders is like free, he's like what, 2,900 or something. And with the Thielen trade and Leggett injury, or I'm sorry, Coker injury, he just could be a smash. And Njoku looks so much better with Flacco. Those types of things. What's coming up here? So probably stopping at 2 tight ends. I need at least one more running back, I feel like, and about 2 more receivers and a quarterback. I think here I'm just going to take these top 2 guys. They're 2 guys I like, and 2 guys who fit. And I'm Thielen, strengthen my receiver core a little bit. and Jerome Ford. I think Ford's a good fifth running back. Same reasons I mentioned about Sampson. No Judkins. I think that role becomes very split. And it just and I also think the Browns offense is in a better state for as long as Flacco's in there. And, Ford probably even retains a role throughout the year. All right, let me go to the board, and I need to make a few slow picks, particularly on drafters. I'm under 10 minutes on there. Don't want to forget about those. But yeah, I don't know. Is anyone out there still drafting Judkins? For me, I just can't do it. I mean, I took him a few times when he really plummeted, but I think he does end up signing at some point and playing. So it does get messy late in the year for Sampson and Ford, maybe, but they also could just retain the job. I mean, Ford's been okay, good, and I don't know Judkins is going to have a lot of support, with him missing a lot of time, just could end up being just kind of a lost year for him. So yeah, I mean, it's not my biggest worry, honestly, for Sampson and Ford is at some point they let one of the rookie quarterbacks take over, and I just think that could potentially sink Brown's fantasy value. And that kind of goes across the board for Njoku, Tillman. I've been taking Judy more. That was another one I was super low on early, but with the way some of the other receivers have either gotten hurt and gone down, or others have gotten above him, I feel he goes in a range I feel pretty okay with now. But I do still have late season concerns for him. And in fact, first quarter, definitely, I think the Browns are really good plays, but honestly, marathon they are as well, because it doesn't matter when they hit. Let's say Flacco plays 10 games and Judy has 4 big spike weeks in that time. That's as valuable as anyone who has 4 spike weeks. Doesn't matter the weeks they are. So I do feel like in tournaments like marathon or on drafters, the Browns players are a little better. The late season risk doesn't matter. All right, coming up in a couple. And let me catch up chat. We got Justin asking, "Hey Steve, how's baseball going?" So after this, I will double check. I know the game's still going on, but as it was, I had 4 dingers in semifinals and 1 little MLB eliminator. As of an hour ago, I wasn't going to get any of the dingers through. I did have 2 second place teams, so they were going to get a little bit more money. Had 1 third place team, but didn't look like anything had enough players left that could get me a first place slot. Hopefully I can hang on to those 2 second place spots and get a little money for my trouble. Crap. We're taking Daniel Jones with my Colts, and I think I go just another receiver. You know what? I'll do Josh Reynolds. I don't have a ton of him. It is a stack. I don't think there's much else there starting in New York. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a couple of usable weeks for an 18th round pick. That can be a lot of value. So after this finishes up, let me go check. And I know the game's still going on, so it's not finalized yet, but we'll see if I was able to hopefully hang on to the 2 second place, get a little bit more money. But yes, the 1 little limb, MLB limb, does look like it's advancing. So I'll at least have 1 final sweat. Their top prize, $5,000. I'm going to make 50 for making it. So it's a big range, but it's only 155 people. So hopefully I can, have a nice run in the finals there. How about you, Justin? I can't remember if you've mentioned before what your semifinals were like. Let me just make a couple picks real quick. My slows are on UD especially. My slows are getting there, not totally done. All right, let me hit up chat and then we'll go check out the baseball. Well, let me, this one is about to finalize. Yeah, the last pick. Not that anyone else was in here. I went 3-5-8-2. Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, Daniel Jones, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Jerome Ford. I think the running back room is very strong. Should get a flex a lot between, I mean, definitely just Kamara and then, you know, Eckler and Ford, I think are both going to give plenty of usable weeks. Receivers, BTJ, T-Mac, Rome, Josh Downs. So like 4 clear starters, all can be their team's number 1. Demario Douglas, probably not, but kind of a good safety pick. I mean, these guys are all like the number 2s on their team. So that's kind of why I went 8. But it's deep enough that I think it's actually pretty fine. And then Warren Ferguson, I'm fine just taking 2 tight ends with those 2. So let me, while I'm here, let's go over to MLB. So Little Limb, I'm in 3rd place, top 5 advance. That seems like it's going to still advance, so that's good. And looks like we are in the same spots, number 2 seconds and a 3rd. Hopefully I can hang on to those. I know the Braves Phillies game's going on right now. So we will get in something else in a second. Let me catch up on chat. Oh no, tech issues. Yeah. She doesn't need a tech issue for you not to get your pick. Steve, we are running a business here is one of my favorite ones from her heart. Yeah, she has her guys that she does not like. Mr. A. Fruit saying appreciate the insight. No, well, you're welcome. Again, that's why I love doing this. I started out drafting Heavy Kittle and then he rose. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I've started taking a lot more Njoku of late. And decent on Jonnu. But yeah, Kittle one time I was at like 15-16%. I'm at like 11% now. So it's slid down for sure. UD slows have to be almost done, right? So I mean, yeah. I have quite a few on the clock right now, just since I've been on for a while. But overall, yeah, I should be well under 100 right now, with many more finishing up tonight. I mean, including like let's just make this marathon pick real quick. 3-5-7-2 with Laporta, Kincaid. I'll probably stop at 2. It's a marathon, so receivers fine. Might just go to the draft. I'll just bring it up. So this is a Burrow, Baker, Stafford. I think I just threw Stafford. I wanted a 3rd quarterback and nothing else was fitting. I don't think I had a stack yet. I wasn't planning on. I mean, I could always take Higbee, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Bijan, Hubbard, ETN, Eckler, DJ Giddens, and then AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Debo, Darnell Mooney, Mims, and Thielen. Yeah, I'll tack on another receiver here. Yeah, it's been forever since I've taken Tutu Atwell. The funny thing is he still very well could be the number 3 there. But there's been less about that. I did used to take him a lot. Kind of tempted to here. I don't take Whittington. I just have a tough time believing because I think he's just like a backup to Puka. I just can't see them running a 3 wide receiver set of Puka, Adams, and Whittington. Whittington does all the things that Puka does. So I'll just take Hopkins here. I mean, I can't believe he goes this late. So yeah, getting through the slow UD drafts pretty well, actually. And let's see, I took him a couple times in the 180s, but that was it for me. Yeah, exactly. The Judkins news. Yep. Yeah, Judkins ends up smashing down the stretch, I'll just, it's okay. It won't be me. Yeah, it's such an unknown. It could be 1 game he misses. It could be 10 games he misses. Like they just might not be willing to sign him even until like a full investigation's done. Just saw this is Flacco James. In a way, I mean, he's probably Jameis Winston with less interception risk. I'm picking some Mixon. Yeah, I was taking Mixon, but boy, that doesn't sound good. I do think Puppy 4 goes all the way to lock. And I talked about this on Whohame's stream, and I mentioned a little bit with the drafters stuff as well. But that's one I do think people would just throw in auto drafts. If people are doing that for like the marathon and sprint, it really helps you. I mean, it helps you any lobby you end up with some auto drafters who maybe aren't like fully, even if they've tweaked their ranks some, they're probably not, as good as going up against a live drafter. But anyone who does that, and look, if somebody auto drafts like 50 teams, they will undoubtedly have some good ones, right? But probably the majority that go auto draft are not going to be good. They're going to be negative EV teams. And so for something like the marathon, where every entry is competing with one another, everyone who does every entry that's like one of those teams just adds expected value to your lineups, right? So that's the one that I hope, I hope a good percentage of what it ends up filling ends up being like these auto drafters. We got Bindles in here. Hope you're doing well, Bindles, GM. I auto over somebody who had to make a big ranking error because his teams were 0-7-9-2. Yeah, exactly. Like, it can be that where you're not getting a quarterback until too late, or you only get one. I did there's a stream earlier this week. Many of you were in. I think FK, you might have been in there. I think there's a pointer, right, where one guy took one quarterback in the 18th round, Daniel Jones. Probably not going to make it. And it's definitely not something that's going to get thrown out. So yeah, those can make for some, not just, but my point is, what's nice about the marathon is not only does it make your room a little bit better, probably, but it just makes every lineup you have in that contest better. So let's get into something else. Speaking of the marathon, let's see if we can fill one. They've been filling pretty well. I've done 100 now, so I'm not going to max it. Whether I do 5 more, 10 more, we'll see. But let's throw a marathon in. I'm going to enter in 5 seconds. Entering in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. So waiting on 4. Hopefully this fills quick, which I expect it to. Just given the state of where things are at. Let me make a couple slow picks as we're waiting. But no, I find it interesting. I think there's both the marathon and sprint. I actually prefer them to the BBM. I think they're better ROI tournaments. Sure, they don't have a 7-figure payday, but you're just more likely to have a good payday, especially with overlay. So I'm gonna have at least 100 in each, probably a little over in each. So maybe like 110. I just don't think I'll be able to max given the time, and just that I have to do so many others, on other sites as well. So this has started. We did get some people in. We got Peanut Punch, we got Hartman, we got Fantasy Dog. So nice. Got a couple of people in helping to fill this. And the nice thing about the marathon is we can all cash. So hopefully we all do. And hopefully, we all have a nice shot for a 6-figure payday. So I'm in the 9th spot. Nice. Multi-tabling any pointers. I mean, for the marathon, you do want to be more cognizant of like too many bye week overlap, because you don't want to misses, right? And undoubtedly you'll have some some guys who get injured or whatever, but you want to limit that as much as possible. Generally, I think 3-5-7-3 is the best build. You're going to take from position anywhere. I take it from tight end, if you have 2 good tight ends. But you probably don't want to have like, and not just in a single position, you don't want it to be like you have like, Kyler, McBride, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers all week 8. And so it's like week 8, you end up putting up like 100 points. And that just could be a lot to make up. And because of that, running backs, I think, take a little bit more primacy just because they're more consistent point getters. You obviously want your running back in the flex as often as possible, because total points matter. And so, starting like, can 0 running back work in this? Sure. But it's just so much harder. And I think even with elite quarterbacks, you generally want to go 3. Like the marathon was twice the size last year. Didn't fully fill. It was like 135,000. But Meg was in it. She finished 138th. And we took a look at the top 100 teams, and 50, I think it was 54, or no, 56. I want to say 56 of them had 3 or more quarterbacks. 2 of them had 4 quarterbacks. But 56 of the top 100, which is, that's actually a significant amount. And that was even with elites, even with Josh Allen, even with Lamar, you wanted 3 quarterbacks a lot of the time. So I'll actually take, if it will work, JT. Okay, it did not want a chain. That sucks, but oh well. Let me refresh this. It did not seem to be allowing me to click. So hopefully not having an issue. No problem. Always happy to help. So yeah, like trying to think of the other thing is, like, yes, you want some spike week guys, but you definitely want to also have consistent floor guys. So, people joke about the chaperones, but the chaperones are very important in this format because, a guy like Jayden Reed, who, where obviously right now he's banged up, but where he finished last year was nice, but it was basically like 2 or 3 games that, he had week 1, 30-some points. He had another, like 1 or 2 other 20-point games, or I think 2 other 20-point games. And that was his season. Most weeks he wasn't doing much. So you really wanted to ensure that you're having chaperones cover his position during those weeks where, yeah, they might only get 12 points, but it's better than the 4 that he was getting. And while stacking is important, it's honestly just more important to like have three good scoring quarterbacks. Like, I wouldn't like force a stack. Like if, let's say you miss out, you take you take Jaden. If you keep missing on the stacks, you miss on the stacks, and even a non-rushing quarterback like a Mahomes or a Baker. Like if you take Mahomes because you're like, oh, it's just good value, I'll try and backstack him later. Or you miss out on Kelsey, you miss out on Hollywood. So be it. Like I wouldn't just force stacks. So I'm going to start 3 running backs. Liked Mike Evans a lot. Like definitely if I am taking an elite tight end, I would probably only stop at 2. But most cases I'll generally do 3 tight ends in this unless I really feel I need to balance the position. Like one thing with all these slows, I was taking Coker in some marathons. And so then I was like, well, shit, I need to add on 8th receiver because, him missing 6 weeks is significant and every week matters. So, again, you don't want to be too low scoring those early weeks. So honestly, I think the suspended guys take a little bit of a hit just because, if you really plan it out, especially Addison, only half the time, but 6 games is a significant amount of time. I'm going to go Devontae Adams. Slight risk, of course, with Stafford, but he's just been so consistent. I mean, just a top 10 receiver year in, year out. Maybe one of these other guys is better than him, but it's tough to say. All right. Yeah, but I still got 3 running backs. I mean, Achane still should be fine. I'm going to go out and say Jaden Reed, backpick and marathon. Yes, like the Mixons, those types of guys, I would just totally let somebody else deal with that risk. And it's also, like I mentioned before, like some of these Browns players, let's say Judkins comes back and he actually takes over the starting role late, but Sampson gave you 3, 4, 5 really good weeks, in the first 8-10 games. That's fine. It could still be more than enough to push you to a really high score, really high finish, and pay off his ADP. I mean, it's tempting to take Burrow here coming up if, even unstacked, because again, points matter most, right? So like, yeah, you want the Burrow Chase stack, you want the Burrow Higgins stack, but if Burrow finishes a QB3, you have QB3. I mean, ideally it's stacked, but I think it's more, there's actually more value in unstacked. So Megan and I talked about like, we're never trying to do the Burrow push in something like Marathon because anyone who believes Burrow is going to be top 5 quarterback can justify taking him in the 50s for sure. And that's what we see here. We'll go Ricky P. Yeah, the injury guys, bench risk guys. Now, some of them, like let's say Anthony Richardson ends up taking over for Daniel Jones at some point. It's more about who has more starts. Like if Daniel Jones starts 10 games and Anthony Richardson starts the last, 7, so 6 would be counting in this. Of course, you want Daniel Jones. It's just more starts unless Richardson has like 4 spike weeks in those 6 games. So, as many projectable points as possible is ideally the best approach. I would take a Dunze like that. I like being balanced here now. And we will see. We'll have to figure out quarterback. Pearson and Dunze offer two stackable guys. I hate it here. Let me see here what your team's like. T-Mac, Smith, Waddle, 3 running backs. I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty strong build. Devonta Smith is in Waddle. I know they're not as clear number ones, but I don't know. Like, I think having 3 top running backs is just a really strong way to build out these kind of teams. I don't know. You can catch up at receiver, I feel like, because again, you're betting on the running back hitting the flex most weeks. All right, up in 7. And we will just going to have to take what comes back to us. Not seeing. Ricky and Rome, I knew were gone. Sorry about that, Hartman. Right. As you can see, ADPs are very different, like Bo Nix at 84. Quarterbacks generally go higher in this. I'm going to actually take Bo Nix. There's some backstacking options there. And I don't want to get boxed out at quarterback. So Shakir, maybe Mason. All right, let's see. Up in 1, look at one of these guys. Downs is also a solid pick. And we'll see what Fancy Dog leaves me with. He goes Dobbins. Yeah, no strengthening running back room. Dobbins is like, I like Dobbins better than Warren and Charbonnet in this because Charbonnet, I feel so like contingent backs aren't as valuable. But I'm going to go Shakir, get another piece of that Bills offense. Obviously not a stacking option, but just get as much of that offense production as possible. And now, yeah, big gap here between when I'm up again. So I like what Fancy Dog did. Heavy receiver, but then pivoted right to running back 4 in a row. So he's balanced at 0.440. Hartman at 0.53 or 0.350. And then we got Peanut Punch 1141. All right. So I take it, Fancy Dog, you haven't done any or many marathons before. Hartman, I remember you saying you've done some like with the promos and stuff, but I can't remember if you're doing a lot of these or not, especially with the overlay. And got a few picks away still. I'm at like 25. I haven't chased much overlay though. Yeah. No, I mean, whatever number you get to, overlay is just added bonus, obviously. Fancy Dog, no, I haven't. Only one because you. Oh, I appreciate that, Fancy Dog. Well, again, and hopefully all of us can get into the cash. It's very possible here. So yeah, definitely not taking Jaden Reed. If Evan Ingram comes back to me, I will take him. For the stack and getting my first tight end. All right. So 1-3-4-1. And yeah, feel pretty solid about this team. So, Scattaboo's sitting there. Meg's not going to like it if I pass on him. But I think I might have to. Yeah, Caleb's there. Let's take Caleb. Get a good second quarterback on a different buy, of course. I will very likely be tacking on a third. But yeah, I feel good about Nix and Caleb, 2 second-year guys who look to be in a good spot. Hartman double taps tight end, taking Kraft. I actually like that Kraft pick as with like the Jane Reed injury stuff. Boy, I think Kraft could really be a big beneficiary. All right. Yeah, Meg is watching. No, I'm sure she will tell me I should have taken Scattaboo. And look, even though I have 3 really good running backs, had Caleb not been there, I might have. I think being deep at running back is smart in this. Like some of those contingent backs just aren't really going to pay off as much. So you want as many projected points as possible. I think Scaboo does deliver that. And, at the price he's going, it's well worth it. Only this draft now, thank goodness. Yeah, no, yeah, no, I know you said you were multi-tabling. That is always tough. How are you feeling about Jaden Higgins right now? Yeah, I mean, I have these aren't, Higgins already went. These aren't my marathon exposures that are in. So overall, Higgins met 9.6%. I definitely put him on some higher dollar stuff. I still think end of the day, and for more like the tournament, the playoff stuff, because I think he could obviously have his best value down the stretch, like, the post buy rookie bump. And even that, can be a misnomer. We'll go Braylon Allen here for third running back. Because, people say post buy rookie bump, but obviously they have an early buy. Maybe it's week 10 on, he's really breaking out. But I still think it's there. The up, very high second round pick, fully guaranteed contract, just the skill set, the potential. It early in the season, so like something like first quarter, yeah, give me all the Christian Kirk as much as possible. And Christian Kirk could still be good throughout, but I don't think something like Jane Higgins in Eliminator or first quarter might not be the return on investment you want. But down the stretch, as we saw with a lot of rookies last year, I mean, Worthy got better, Ladd, BTJ, etc. Just down the stretch, like most of the rookie receivers who hit were better down, as the season wore on. Some because opportunity presented itself with somebody like Jalen McMillan. Others just got healthier. Ladd was kind of banged up early to start the year. So yeah, I'm okay. I'm not. I haven't been taking too much of him lately. I mean, he's fallen some, so it's viable. I need a receiver. Ooh, Luther Burden is there, but I don't know if I need that. I will do Burden's tempting, but I'm going to go Ferguson. Two really good tight ends. I could stop at two. I likely will do a 3-5-8-3 or 3-5-7-3. But this at least gives me the option to stop at two again. Here, I generally want to be more balanced, and I'm I think my receivers are fine. Will need some help. I got four guys who could all be, even Devontae Adams could be the top receiver on his team in terms of fantasy points. Just his ability to score touchdowns, that something Puka just hasn't done. It's at least live. And Burden has fallen in this, which I get it. For at least the start of the year, Zacchaeus should have that role. It's not like Burden didn't look good in the preseason. It's just the playing time shows us he's not in there from the jump. Not taking Scatterbo. Yeah, I don't, we'll see how it is week one. But one thing we did see in the preseason is, once again, Tracy was not good at the goal line. That could just be his fantasy downfall. Like, if you can't score touchdowns, it's tough to be fantasy relevant, particularly if you're like splitting time. And it's also one of those things, despite having the background of a receiver, he's probably not the best receiving back on the team. I think Scatterbo is that title as well. So we'll see how the Giants deploy them, but I still believe. All right, coming up in the 13th round pick, I'm at 2-4-4-2. We'll definitely look to add one more quarterback, probably one more tight end as well. But really need to start catching up at a receiver. And, you know, not the biggest Leggett fan, but if he's there, I might just take him. Definitely not taking Judkins, though. Yeah, I'll go to Mario Douglas, though. I think he's the one of the chaperones. I mean, kind of similar to Shakir, but helps my floor for sure. There's some quarterbacks. I mean, ideally, I want different buys, so I don't know if Penix is as interesting. Cam Ward, I think, is fine. Could take Geno and just do a team bet with Genty. As you can see, the ADPs can be very different here. I'm actually going to go Geno. Yeah. So 3 quarterbacks all have at least team correlation. And we are not up for a while. So let's see. Yeah, I didn't think Thielen would come back to me. Obviously, I like him, and it's another situation where in this marathon, let's say Thielen's best games are the 3, let's say it's 2 20-point games or something, while Addison's out. That matters a lot in this format. And then, probably a couple of floor games on top of that. So those kind of things do have more value here. And I think sometimes we overlook those to begin with. I mean, you look at last year, the BBM winner, famously, it's just some total swings and misses with like Jerome Burton and a few others. But one thing that's overlooked is his 18th round DeMarcus Robinson pick. Guy did absolutely nothing in the playoffs, but had multiple big weeks, middle of the season. And that was crucial for him because he had Higgins missing time, Pearsall missing time, Thielen missing time. Didn't he have Devonta Smith who missed some time? So there were games where, Robinson was like his number 2 receiver. So yeah, like those types of guys producing late, rounds 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, even if it's a couple games early in the year, can just push a team through. There can be a lot of value there. All right, Hartman's up and then I'm up. He goes Mason Taylor. I'm going to get my 5th running back, take Rico Dowdle. Feel very strong about my running back room, which is exactly what I wanted. And yeah, like for me in this, I don't want to push quarterback as much just because, some of the guys going late, we're making bets on, Flacco, Russ or Dart, Daniel Jones. I know some people still take Anthony Richardson. I want guys who I know are going to start. So So having 3 guys, I feel good about that. I think it's a big plus. And of course, at 3 different buys. And then, yeah, having my running back and guys who I think I can very well project all their roles. But now we need a receiver. This one is less projectable, but we will take a Torrey Franklin share. Pat Bryant, you can make the same case. But Franklin is probably ahead of him right now to start. Of course, it's stacked up with Knicks. So 2 more picks. Probably going receiver tight end. Oh, good. For a moment there, when I saw your first message, I thought I was muted. So hope hope everyone else is enjoying the marathon draft. I know it's a new thing for you, Fantasy Dog and Hartman, saying I was sniping them. Hopefully you've been able to turn the team around. And oh boy, I'm up on a bunch of slows and drafters. So I'm not watching the Notre Dame game. How's that game going for anyone who might be watching? I am definitely interested to see how Notre Dame does this year after moving on from Riley Leonard going to the NFL and a bunch of other guys, but they seem to have reloaded. So coming up to these last 2 rounds, we'll probably go. I mean, there's generally receivers and starting receivers and tight ends still. So I truly am mainly just looking for a starter. Not worrying for any sort of bringbacks or anything like that. You can obviously make some like division correlated bets if, say, 3 teams are like all playing each other, 2 times in the first 17 weeks. You can do that. There's a little value there, but I think it only kind of works if it's a division that's going to score a lot of points or, teams that are going to pay off like that. So Pat Bryant is there. Don't think I'm going to go that route. I'm going to take, I think got a little picked over, it looks like. So take that first. I'll go Juwan Johnson. Theo Johnson, either one would have worked. Trey Tucker is technically a starter. Don't know if I need to do that. De'Ami Brown, I think, is fine. Malik Washington's fine. Roman Wilson. So I'll get somebody. Lockett obviously is pretty solid in this format. Should give a lot of usable weeks. Solid like floor play weeks. And no real crazy buy overlaps. Just probably not week 14. So I'm going to go what I think will be the best offense, and that's De'Ami Brown. I think he's the number 3. And so should hopefully produce well enough for this role. We'll let this finish up. We'll check on everyone's team, see how everyone enjoyed that draft. So let's go to the board for the final couple of picks. And then we will look at it. Let's see. We got Kramer 222 in here, GM. Hope you're doing well. Hope your draft streets are going well. This was a marathon. Fantasy Dog saying, don't like my running back room. Other than that, team was just okay. Well, it could very well be good enough, especially just to cash. And remember, cashing in this. So, like regular tournaments, 2 out of 12 advance to the playoffs. Generally, most of that you get your money back, and that's 16.7%, right? So this is before any overlay. This only 16% people make it to the cash, but anyone who does doubles their money. So, all you had to do is make it to the cash and you double your money. All right, let's look at these teams. I went 3-5-7-3, Knicks, Caleb, Gino, excuse me, Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, James Cook, Braylon Allen, Rico Dowdle. Even with not loving the Achane pick, I definitely would have taken Taylor over him. Still think it's a very good running back room. Devontae Adams, Pearsall, Rome, Khalil Shakir, Demario Douglas, Troy Franklin, De'Ami Brown. So mixing some upside with some safety guys at the end there. And then Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson, Juwan Johnson. I think it's a good solid mid-tier tight end room, like 2 mid-tier guys, 1 late for just some extra insurance. We'll look at Fantasy Dog teams first. He goes 3-5-8-2. Fields, May, Lawrence. I think that's a very good quarterback room. I think there's probably more quarterback points than I probably have. Then Tony Pollard, Dave Montgomery, Tyron Tracy, J.K. Dobbins, Shard White. Honestly, I think that's good. I'm not the biggest Tracy fan, but David Montgomery, if he stays healthy, he would have been top 12 back last year. It's pretty damn good considering where he's going. And even if he's more like RB 18, 19, you're a little behind at running back, but not a crazy amount. These are all very usable guys, 5 guys that should generally have solid scores. Nico Thomas, Mike Evans, Terry, super strong wide receiver room. Then you wait till late and tack on 4 more, but the guys like Slayton Pierce, Josh Reynolds, some Spike Week, Chisholm, that's probably the riskiest pick, but who knows? Maybe you're right. And definitely looked good in the preseason, that's for sure. Strange and Ertz, yeah, I think stopping at 2 tight ends with those 2 is fine. We had Peanut Punch in here, Lamar Baker, so 2-7-7-2, Gibbs, Charbonnet, Stevenson, Ray Davis, Naj, Will Shipley, Damian Pierce. Kind of more like an anchor RB, but that's why he went 7. I think Stevenson, you'll find usable weeks from these guys. Probably won't be hitting the flex as often as you maybe want, but should still be, could easily, if these guys stay healthy, be fine. Top 4 receivers are really strong. I think Kirk is a good receiver, as we talked about. Kyle Williams and Hopkins. Kyle Williams is really sliding down, and I've started taking him again. Obviously taking him in 125 to 135 was not a great play, but 160, 170 like this seems like good value. I think he could really have some spike weeks. Then Laporta likely, as long as Likely's back by week 8, that team is totally fine. And then Hartman was in here. 3-5-7-3, so standard build. Love, Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, so 3 starting quarterbacks, and Jones starts all year. That's probably incredible value. And even if he doesn't, like I said, you want the guy who's going to start the most. I think that's probably Jones, Henry, Chase Brown, Amari Hampton. So 3 high-end upside running backs plus Sampson, Mitchell. So even some insurance for Henry. Probably not much of his own standalone, but kind of handcuffing that room, I think, is good. Handcuffing a good offense. T-Mac, Devonta, Waddle, Jacoby Myers, Josh Downs. I mean, that's 5 good starting receivers. I feel like Thornton, spike week play, Michael Wilson, just kind of a safe guy. And then Njoku, Kraft, Mason Taylor. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. So I think all of us easily have a chance for the cash. Do you need, some guys to like greatly exceed their point totals to really get a high finish here? Absolutely. But, first and foremost, like having a viable team, I think is key. Jordan, a good pick. Have my eye on him. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Peanut Punch, thanks. Enjoying the stream. Haven't done many of these. Yeah, no, appreciate you jumping in, Peanut. All right, I'm going to definitely do another draft. Ooh, I need catch up on a few slows real quick. Type in chat if you want to do a puppy, a BBM, marathon, or sprint. And I'll give it a couple, like 2 minutes as I make a couple picks. And we will then figure out what we're going to draft next. I know Ant earlier was saying he'd be interested in a puppy. So I will take that in consideration. Not sure if he's still around. And let me see here. So Peanut's saying sprint. Feel free if anyone else wants to chime in. And we will get a draft going shortly. All right, so far Peanut is the only one chiming in. I will we'll look at sprint. Let me, just since I have a moment, let me just take a look at, make sure nothing changed in my baseball lineup. I keep still 1-1, so probably not. And yeah, still in the same spots. All right, let's go back to the lobby. That's what Q's saying puppy, so we got a vote for each. Ant, are you still in here? If so, then maybe that would sway me to puppy. Peanut says he'll do a puppy as well. Let's do, we'll give another minute and then probably do a puppy. And yeah, I think, was it FK was saying the puppy will probably go down to the wire. And I agree. I mean, I think, again, more people will just be willing to throw entries at that. So, like come Thursday, it could just the fill rate could jump. But I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't fully fill either. I really thought that it would fill. I thought we might even get like a small hound dog or something, but that's probably not the case at this point, would be my guess. I remember last year we got a couple tournaments like the last couple days, but that's looking less and less likely, I'd say. All right, let's do a puppy. I will count it down. All right, at 9:41, I will enter the puppy 4, 9:41 Eastern, so adjust for whatever time zone you're in. And we are entering. Best ball Q saying was last year most profitable year in best ball. Yes, it definitely was. I've been playing at some level of volume the last 3 years. 4 years ago, I did a little on DK, and maybe one on Underdog. But then next year I did like just under 100 on Underdog and probably like 100 on DK. I mean, I made playoffs, won finals on Underdog, Pomeranian, and won finals on DK. Then 2 years ago, I did much better, did much better. But last year, with 16 total finals, a couple decent finishes on drafters as well. Yeah, it was definitely my most profitable. So we got Peanut in here. If anyone else try to jump in, I at least don't recognize any names. If you're in here, feel free to say hi. I'm at the 3 spot. I'll take Lamb. Here. Oh, Baseball Q. That's right. DC 352. Gotcha. Appreciate you joining Baseball Q. So yeah, last year was definitely the most profitable, but I've been profitable. It was profitable 2 years ago, a lot, because I'm glad they brought it back. 2 years ago, I did 40 BBM lineups, and I had 3 in the top 10,000. And that year, you got 250 for everyone, and I just missed like getting to the next tier up, whatever it was. But that pay for essentially all my BBM. So even though I didn't get any Underdog finals teams, I was able to be profitable on Underdog because of that. So first round, nothing really shocking with the start of the first round. Let me put up the board real quick. So Miami's beating Notre Dame right now. Interesting. Miami, got the Carson Beck transfer, but I really thought Notre Dame, I believe they were favored by like 2 points. So I mean, honestly, we've seen it in different months. Pretty much, I think two of the 5 have been in June, right? There's been May, there's been August, 1 July, or May 2 and July. I can't remember exactly, but so I think it's been. I'm pretty sure there's one in May, but anyways, I'll say probably August, just because I think the largest percentage of drafts were done in August. And while sure you weren't getting some like crazy values on, say, like a Keenan Allen or a handful of other guys, but you also weren't getting some of those landmines either. So, I mean, just from the raw perspective of probably 40% of the tournaments drafted in August, that seems like a likely bet, but we've seen it every month, I believe. I guess there will be a few teams drafted in September, so that would be kind of wild if it is one of these last few teams. McBride makes it back. I'll do McBride. I mean, I definitely generally think drafting, particularly for tournaments like the BBM, drafting more of your, whether you're doing 20 teams, 100 teams, 150, drafting the majority in mid to late August, I do think is strong. Just knowing that news. I do know also, like, people have talked about, I think last year, 8 of the top 10 teams were fast drafts. And I think every winner has been a fast draft. But that's also a relatively small sample size. So, I do plenty of my teams slow. I don't necessarily think those teams have that much of a less, chance to be a winner. And, like, I finished 4th in the big board last year. I'm 99.9% sure that was a slow draft. I did 78 big board teams. I think I did 75 of them slow. So, and I don't mark which ones were which. So, but yeah, I would almost guarantee it was a slow draft. So 0-1-1-1 to start, and we will figure it out from there. We got, I think some of those intra-player discounts will come up big towards the end of the season. Mooney, Ayuk, Godwin. Yeah, I mean, Ayuk's one I just don't have. Somebody hates me not wishing that to be the one. Mooney especially, because he's fallen like 20, 25, 30 spots. And he might even be ready week 1. If not, he's probably ready week 2. I'm on the clock, so I should probably pick. We'll go Pickens. Maybe try and get a Dak double stack. I don't do it too often. But that's one thing with the puppies, not trying to do something crazy, but do something different that I don't usually do. Henderson was tempting just because he typically goes so much higher now. And probably looking at another receiver here. Like JMO. He goes. I do Devonta. But yeah, I mean, Mooney especially seems to have the most value of these injured receivers because he might miss essentially zero time. We got King QC checking in. Hope you're doing well. My highest drafted tight ends are the elites at 13% for McBride and Bowers Kittle. What are your tight end exposures? So, yeah, McBride, I'm at, let me just type it in. I'm lower. I don't, especially Bowers and McBride. Bowers, just under 6%. This isn't updated with all my slows and from yesterday. So, McBride 6.5. Kittle was more. Kittle's over 10. Kittle's at 10.1. So, Kittle at one point was like 16, 17%. But just with him moving up, I still take him some. Yeah, just too much of it is the opportunity cost. Bowers is the toughest for me just because, like, the receivers and running backs there, like, I don't know how I can take Bowers over like a Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor just has the ability to be RB1. And even if Bowers is tight end 1, RB1 just trounces that by a mile. Outside of that Kittle year or Kelsey year a couple of years ago. And even then, RB1 outproduced Kelsey. So yeah, Bowers is the one. I mean, I take him when he falls to like the back half of the second round, but it's tough taking him when he was like at the turn, even at like 15, 16. When he was falling to like the 20, 21, 22 range, that's when I was taking him. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like Kittle, particularly when we were getting Kittle in the 40s routinely, that just easy to click. Still would like to get a little bit more of all of them, actually. Because they do have the ability to separate. It's just the other thing with that is, I mean, we've seen Mark Andrews be tight end 1 before. We've seen last year Mark Andrews was tight end 7 in terms of points per game. Every other year with Lamar, 2019 on, he's been top 4. So, he's going as what, tight end 8 or 9 right now. Like Hawkinson, Laporta, these guys have tight end 1, 2, 3 upside. So it's just tough when they go so much later. But I'm not super high in Laporta. I actually have lower percent on him. I think I'm only 4% on him. Let me go Pacheco. Got Dirty P checking in. Hope you're doing well, Dirty P. GM sickos. How are the drafts going for you, Dirty P? I can't remember, are you big into marathon sprint or not? We did a BBM already, a marathon, now we're doing a puppy. I mean, I know I've gotten in some, like, can't remember if it's marathon or sprint with you, but I can't remember how much you're in on those tournaments. We are going to go. I'll just take David Montgomery. Not the flashiest pick, but again, he was top 12 running back last year before he got injured. It's rare. Like, as much as I like Caleb Johnson, as much as I like Jordan Mason, I don't think they have that kind of upside. Like, I mean, yes, if everything goes right, sure. But David Montgomery actually has that upside. And then it's also, he carries a contingent. Like, they would need, Caleb Johnson would need like Jalen Warren hurt and Gainwell to be hurt or ineffective or vice versa. And the Steelers offense just be better than expected. Mason would probably need Aaron Jones to get hurt, which is possible. But Montgomery can do it without an injury. And then if Jahmyr Gibbs does get injured, I mean, he could be a top 5 running back, right? So that's kind of my thing. Done 15 of each sprint and marathon, not my kind of contest, but shoot's going to shoot. Yep, exactly. And, it does look like some overlay, so I'll hold both of those. Jeff Cooley, fun times. Hope you're doing well, Jeff. So Dirty P, are you doing any more drafting, or are you kind of done for the year? And I look at a slow and I got 20 seconds left. That's not great. Not ideal. So coming up in 5. And, so far, nothing too unique about this build. Obviously targeting Dak. I mean, these guys at the turn don't have a quarterback, but I got the 2 Dallas pieces, so I'll probably push I don't want to use in here, but we'll see. Maybe not even worth it. Kyler, as considering double tapping quarterback. You know what? Let me just get Dak. I don't want to. If I took the double stack, I don't want it to get messed up. Had Andrews or Kyler been there, probably would have done that and then tried to get Dak back as well. It just wasn't worth it at that point. A McBride Andrews team feels fun. It's a lot more than I typically spend at tight end, but I would be interested in it. Charbonnet, Dobbins, Shaheed. Definitely not taking Reed. Could go Mooney. Oh boy. I think I will go. You know what? I will go Mooney. Doesn't sound too bad. Still gain him like 15 spots later than he was going. He 1, 2, 3 inning Steve for 2 days. Nice, Justin. Congrats. Got 1 7th inning final team. Congrats. Yeah. Like I said, it looks like I'm only going to have the one little eliminator final, but still will be something to sweat. 1 BBM team to bat draft will probably try and reach 50 puppy 4 teams at 30. So yeah, you got a few more to go. Yeah, I don't have a set number for puppy 4. I've already done a decent share, but I'll probably do a couple more, especially if it does look like it might overlay. And if it ends up, we'll tie a guy in Dinger, but I guess it goes to the top scoring player. I forget. Yeah, is that the tiebreaker? I can't remember what the tiebreaker is. That's wild. That would honestly really suck to lose it that way. So Braves took the lead, it looks like. Hopefully that didn't screw up any of my second place teams, because at least I get a little extra money with that. After this draft, I will take a look. Probably guessing not, since it wasn't a super high scoring game. I can't remember. Is that the rule? I honestly don't remember what the tiebreaker is. I'm sure I've read it before, but I do not remember what the rule is. Soto, nice. So is it just the high? Is it the high scoring player over 2 weeks, or of one of the 2 weeks, just the high scoring player? Dueling pistols at dawn to settle it. Yeah. That would just suck too, especially these 2-week playoffs, to grind down and to be in a tie and then to not advance. I mean, congrats to you for if that's how it is and you're advancing, but I do feel bad. I'd be pretty tilted. I was hoping. There's Keenan Allen. Yeah, I went Keenan Allen. And Drake May fall was interesting. He goes Zardo threw a gem. Yeah. Dodge, Turner, and Kyle this game. Brutal loss for me. Came in second by a few points to Guy. I got 100. Wow. Oh, that's tough. Yeah. Well, after this draft, I'll check, but I had two seconds, 1/3 of my 4 dinger teams early in this week. At one point, I was in first in 2 of them, and then second in the other. So I was like, "Oh man, this is shaping up real well." But yep, didn't turn out that way. It's almost, and I would have lost to Lucas if the Phillies got Lazaro win. I would have tied it and lost. Oof. We'll say high scoring player. I'll look after this draft if I can find it real quick. But yeah, it's just kind of wild to think about over the 2-week format to just end in a tie. All right. You're right, Justin. It's a single high scoring player for the game week. Okay. Nice. Well, congrats, Justin. That is awesome. Chris, thanks for joining us. Did you get anything through? Did you have anything smaller going, or? Yeah, no, I know, like I said, I know how it feels. Like these sweats are rough, and especially, NFL, with the game starting on Christmas, it was a pretty crazy sweat of having games Wednesday, Thursday. Excuse me. There wasn't anything Friday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that was a pretty wild long week sweat for NFL, but these 2-week sweats for baseball, I will tell you, those are something. I'm pretty sure pretty sure NBA and NHL do it the same way. They're pretty wild. Wow. So for the repeat, the Dinger, it's the flagship for baseball. To advance is a minimum 500, and top prize there is 100K. So, and I can't remember how many teams are in the Dinger final. 500, I think, ballpark. So, yeah, it's definitely my highest Dinger score out of 8 pods, got 4th in the. Wow. Yeah, there were definitely some tough pods out there. In fact, it's a 310 person final. Damn. Yeah, after this, I will compare what mine, because the one that I was in first place for almost the entire 2 weeks and just lost it like 2 nights ago. I think it is a pretty good score. What was Justin, just curious, what was your high scoring Dinger? So I'll take a lot of them, but there's correlation here. I'll take Jaden Blue. That's my 2% Jaden Blue. And yeah, I checked early in the week. I haven't checked in a couple of days. 1356. Yeah, no, seriously. Congrats, Justin. That is awesome. After this, I will check where I'm at. Up in a pick. We'll get a third quarterback here. Take Penix. We'll only do 2 tight ends, generally with McBride. Nice. Well, that's awesome to have two teams through, Justin. We'll definitely be rooting you on. My MLB is coming to an end, and I only played like $200 worth. Yeah, no, I mean it's good to it's good to learn, and especially if you're obviously a fan of baseball. There's some overlay in some of their contests, which was nice. Atani killed me. Yeah, I think one of my teams had Atani. Actually, it's a team that that didn't come close to the final. The top three. I think I finished 7th in the other pod. Pretty sure that was my Atani team. And we talked about like Chase, for as good as he was in the regular season, was not a good playoff wide receiver. He had a couple usable weeks, but I think he finished over the 3-week 15, 16, 17. I think he finished as like wide receiver 12 or wide receiver 14. That was really low. In fact, people knock Saquon Barkley, but Saquon Barkley was a running back 7 over that 3-week window. So, of the two guys who like led the position, Chase was actually the worst playoff player. Yeah, I mean, I will say like the baseball. I wish I had. I do wish it was like a 20 round draft for baseball, just because the season is so grueling. Injuries are such a thing. I think it would be good to go deeper for baseball. So I wish those drafts were a little longer for that reason. Because I had so many teams like mid-season that look good, and then some injuries hit, and it's just like, oh, they're done. So I think I might just go Ertz here for second tight end and be done. Definitely not taking Trey Harris anywhere near this ADP. As you see, I am ranked much lower right now. Yeah, I'll just take Ertz. McBride Ertz feels really good at tight end. I know you talked about it as the 17th stretch was filling. I just didn't throw in any teams there. Probably should have, because I know there's overlay there as well. And yeah, maybe next year I'll try and plan things better so I can do some 17th stretch. I only have one finals team did 75, advancing 45. That's in the 7th inning stretch. And I forget what the top prize is in the 7th inning stretch, like 20K. So like I said, it didn't end up doing any. We'll take Rashard White and be done at running back. Now I'll probably tack on 3 receivers. Yeah, Seager's injury. I'm trying to name baseball in 30 years, thumbs down all around. Oh, there's no overlay. I could have sworn there was overlay in 7th inning stretch. Guess not. 20K. Yeah, the frozen rope, and I only did one of those. Got to the playoffs, but didn't get to the semis. I think I finished me 3rd in my frozen rope, 3rd or 4th. And Dinger, yeah, I did get a few wild card teams in for the Dinger overlay, so that was nice. All right, coming up in a few picks. And we will be finalizing this draft with 3 receivers. I'm sitting at 3-5-5-2. Started strong at receiver, but then slowed down. I mean, still starters. And we will finalize it. Did 20, got 8 in, advanced 1, and now dead. Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, you still have a sweat. I mean, I have a little, like I said, the low eliminator, unless something crazy happened in this game, which sounds like it didn't. Should have gotten that through. All right, up in 1, we'll take my guy Slayton. Such an easy pick every time. 17th round, sometimes 18th round. Clear starter, some spike week upside. Yeah. Easy layup pick for me. I will say, especially going 8 receivers, I don't mind the QJ fall. Not the biggest fan of QJ, but 17th round, not bad. Go either Hopkins or Pierce, Brown. They're all fine here. And then I'll get maybe more of an upside play late. So I did to double check. I think I only did 124, 128 dingers. I advanced 19%. And some of that was due to the overlay. Or actually maybe it was 20% with the overlay, but yeah, no, probably next year I'll try and max it. Just tough because it's always going on in the pre-draft window, and I was maxing everything but the 250 contest there. All right, so I got QJ. I like the fall on him. Even with Keenan Allen there, he's probably the number 3. Hopefully the concussion's not serious. If it is, then maybe Trey Harris stuff pays off. But otherwise, take some shots on QJ. So we'll finalize this, look at teams. In another window, let me look at how many baseball teams did. As we are finalizing last round here. So assuming this is updated, yeah, it looks like my little limb advanced as expected. And I did maintain the 2 second place spots and third. Fortunately, you don't get any more for third, but 2 second place spots. So I got a little bit more money for my dinger teams. So that's nice. And hopefully my little limb can get to the top and win 5K. Steve is 20K in football this year. Not that much. Definitely not that much, but it's up there. One thing I've talked about this on stream before and with Who Hames, but if you did, because I'm only going to do about 75, 75 BBMs, right? So that's half. The other half the money, 1,800 plus, you could have gotten in essentially everything between $3 and $5, not counting the puppies, but including the MMG, and actually beyond $5, like everything between $3 and $20, not counting the puppies. Puppies are a lot because there's so many of them. You could have maxed everything else in between for essentially $1,900. So one last pick. We'll go Roman Wilson. You want to get a little bit more of him down the stretch here. So that, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't going to max BBM. Just, I mean, you could look at it any which way. Like, of course, each BBM is one marathon and one puppy, or I'm sorry, one sprint and one puppy, however you want to look at it. But yeah, you could do hundreds of lineups, like even not counting the puppies. And that's just in regular. That doesn't count the rookie sophomore. That doesn't count like, and I'm sorry, that doesn't count the Badge Bros Brawl or the first quarters and those types of things. But every regular contest between $3 and $20, including the $20 pit bull, max 10, and that was the same cost as essentially, again, not counting the 4 puppies, and this isn't counting super flex, but that's the same cost as half the BBM entries. And of course, half BBM entries, 75. That did the math at one point. It was like almost 500 entries otherwise. So that's just one way to look at it. Slayton is such a free square with the Giants wide receiver situation. Malik seems to be on the Julio Jones arc, playing through a nagging injury. And have we gotten an update on Theo Johnson? Yeah, we have not gotten an update on Theo Johnson. It's frustrating. I'm sure we will like Tuesday. So hopefully it's not serious. Obviously they're not. I don't think they're putting him on IR like, say, the Coker situation. But maybe it is something like he won't even miss week 1. Definitely slowed down taking him. I don't want to totally avoid him because I think he's a solid 18th round tight end. But it's definitely annoying that we don't have an update there. But I agree. Like Slayton, I know Wando will probably get more targets, but they gave Slayton good money. He's a vertical X receiver, solid. He gets a quarterback upgrade. There's outcomes where, of course, Neighbors needs some missed time. He could go up. And yeah, I don't think Jalen Hyde's coming for his job. Hugh Hames and I, we've been breaking down the preseason and not impressed by Hyatt. So my team, 3-5-8-2, went over it as we went, but Dak, Herbert, Penix, JT, Pacheco, Montgomery, Jaden Blue, Rashard White. So doing a big Cowboy stack here with Lamb and Pickens, Devonta Smith, Darnell Mooney with the Penix, and then Keenan Allen and QJ with Slayton and Roman Wilson in the mix. Trey McBride and Ertz, so exceedingly strong there. I look at this team like, we know Dak and Herbert both have top 10 quarterback upside. Penix we'll see, of course. Running back, a little bit more of an anchor, but 2 other guys who can be top 10, top 15 backs, and then 2 other swings at the fence. Receiver, I actually think it's pretty good, even though I kind of stopped after Keenan for a bit. And then, McBride and Ertz. So I like this team. We'll check out the other teams in here. Then we'll get on out of here. Best ball Q, right? He's in the 1 spot here. 2-6-8-2. Nix McCarthy, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Jerome Ford, DJ Giddens. Good, really good running back room. Even if I am not super high on Swift and Jones, I definitely recognize they're solid at that price. And with having them tacking on a 6-1 isn't a bad call. Chase, McConkey, Tyreek, Sutton. I mean, if Tyreek is healthy, that wide receiver room is exceedingly good. Ayuk, late season upside. Cedric Tillman, Adam Thielen can maybe cover you until then. Coker, unfortunately, have to wait until the end of the year for him as well. And then Ingram, Kate Otten. So, there's definitely some injury risk there with like Cade missing a couple weeks, Coker missing 4 to 6 weeks, Ayuk missing like 4, 6, 7 weeks, whatever the case may be. Kind of worrying about Tyreek a bit, but if you get on the right side of the health luck, it could be a good team. it's one of those teams like if this team gets through the 2-12, it probably means you're in a really good position. And then we had Peanut Punch in here as well. 3-5-8-2, Mahomes, Stafford, Dart. So I'll probably need Stafford to start a decent chunk because, Dart might not even be playing by the time Mahomes goes on by. But if Stafford's healthy, then I like this quarterback room. Genty, Kyron, Brees Hall, Eckler, Naj. I like the running back room, especially, Naj not missing time. At one point, I think we all thought Naj was going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. And he's starting to tick back up, but getting a guy like that in the 150s, great contingent value. We'll probably have some standalone value. I know we don't know for sure, but at least it's a lot better than we thought about, say, 2 weeks ago. Neighbors, Adams, Zay Flowers, and the fallen Zay Flowers. Like when you get him in the 60s, I'd have a lot more Zay Flowers if he was consistently going in the 60s. Keon Coleman, Sheed Shaheed, Ion Manor, Pierce, Royals. The Royals injury is a little worrisome. I get me taking a late shot and just hoping he comes back and can develop into a role. Kelsey, Pitts, like the upside case of Kelsey and Pitts is both there. Generally, those are 2 tight ends I like doing in 3 tight end builds for their risk reason. But, this is another team where if it gets through, you're probably in a really good position. It's probably because some of these guys stepped up beyond their injuries and, broke out. So good, fun draft. Appreciate you guys joining me for 3 drafts. Going to do a stream tomorrow afternoon, maybe evening. I think Meg's going to jump on at some point. We'll not only do some drafts, we'll probably do some battle royales, talk some DFS. So really kind of do it all. I'll be in the streets tonight, finishing up these slows, doing more and more fast. And appreciate everyone for jumping in, hitting the like button. We really appreciate the support and appreciate you guys drafting along. So let's see. I'll hit up chat, Steve. I have a rule against drafting players that are 6'6" and taller. Theo and Colston have me nervous for violating my rules. Long levers? No, that is fair. Tight ends are obviously more chance of being that big. Good night, Steve. Good luck in baseball. To you too, Justin. Sounds like you got some really good sweats going. Let's get this man some more likes, people. Appreciate it, you guys. No, really do. Evening stream with the team. Yep. Cheers. To you too, everyone. I'm going to get on out of here. I got to catch up on a bunch of slows. But I hope everyone has a good night and good luck with your final drafts. I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.